Hey guys, welcome back to Talking with Tyler. And on today's podcast, I am joined by a very special guest in Malcolm Harper, who is a host of the New York Jets State of Mind. Welcome to the show, Malcolm.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tyler. I appreciate the invite.
You're welcome. So, I wanted to bring you on to do a recap of the Jets versus Giants preseason Week 2 game. So, what were your thoughts on this game? It was a Giants 31-12 victory. What do you think the Jets should be concerned about?
Well, what I think is, Tyler, I don't think we should worry too much because it's preseason and the coaches don't game plan. I understand that the first drive didn't go the way it's supposed to. Justin Fields was only one for 5 yards, I believe, and he had a couple of he had a couple of missed throws, if you will. But honestly, I don't think it's that concerning because of the fact that um, it was just the it's just preseason. I'm not worried too much about it. So I've seen other Jet fans that are actually like losing their you know what because and again, Tyler, it's just preseason. So I'm honestly I'm not really too worried about it as long as not no none of the stars end up getting hurt. That was the main thing for me going into the game.
I agree. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about, Jets fans out there, because it's only preseason. I feel like this is the best time for the Jets to really work on their stuff because in practice they don't really do a lot of tackling things. I feel like them playing with tackling, I feel like really is going to be beneficial for Week 1. And I feel like if the starters sat out like the entire preseason, I feel like they would just I feel like they would have no type of experience, and I feel like this is probably the best time for them to work on their stuff. So I also wanted to bring up another question about the two other quarterbacks that played in this one, Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook. What were your thoughts on them? I really like the way Brady Cook's been playing the first two preseason games.
Yes, I agree, Tyler. And then that one drive, then he ended up doing, I believe, it was in the fourth quarter with the throw that he ended up making, and the undrafted wide receiver ends up catching that ball. I know he paid a little bit of a price for it when he died for it, but I like the way he ended up executing that drive. But Adrian Martinez, I think he was kind of iffy, to be honest with you, especially on that first drive when the Jets had their first possession on offense. But I think that Brady Cook ended up looking really well, especially with that methodical drive for that only touchdown drive that the Jets ended up having the entire game. So I would definitely agree that Brady Cook was the better quarterback in the second half than Adrian Martinez was.
I agree with you. Brady Cook had that one touchdown to Quentin Skinner, who's a rookie, and he only had one drop this entire preseason. He was 4 for 4 in this one touchdown, that one-handed. He's making Garrett Wilson type one-handed catches. So I feel like this guy really has a chance to make this 53-man roster. And another name I wanted to throw up on the wide receiver end of things was Brandon Smith. Six targets, 5 receptions for 48 yards. He was the Jets' leading receiver in this one. I feel Aaron Glenn pointed him out in the press conference that he really liked the way he played in this one. So I feel like these two guys have a great chance of making the 53-man roster as backups behind Garrett Wilson, Tyler Johnson, and Josh Reynolds. So what are your thoughts on these backups, wide receivers? Do you like how they're playing?
Yes, I like how they're playing. And Tyler, don't forget about Aaron Smith as well too, because if you've seen on one of those drives, one of the passes that he ended up dropping, if you could tell, Aaron Smith wanted to actually make a football move first. So you know how it is fundamentals as far as wide receivers goes. You catch the ball first, and then you make a football move because he was too busy trying to make a football move instead of trying to go catch it. But if he can actually go and clean that up, I think we have a steal in the draft. Aaron Smith, and like you said, him and Brandon Smith that were um, that was actually praised by Aaron Glenn in the press conference speaks volumes about all both of them and Skinner making the 53-man roster.
I was really shocked by the way I heard the announcers on CBS say Arian Smith is wearing goggles to better focus on catching the ball. I feel like that was really interesting to me because this guy in college could not catch the ball, and I feel like when I noticed in training camp he started catching a lot more balls. And in this one, I feel like I mean, he had two receptions, but I don't really know if I want this guy in the 53 man roster. I feel like he just struggled. It's just I don't really know actually, like if I want him. But do you want him on the 53 man roster?
I I would at least give I would at least try to at least give him a shot, Tyler. That's what I was see what I can do. I mean, we still have question marks, generally speaking, behind Garrett Wilson because you don't know if Josh Reynolds is going to be. I think he's going to be wide receiver too, but you got huge question marks, generally speaking, um, from the wide receiver position. But I would actually give him a shot and see what he can do the first couple of games. And if he doesn't pan out, you just cut him, and then whoever the free agents that are out there, you just gonna bring him in. That's what I would do. This is the hand that we're dealt with at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe we could give him a shot. I mean, maybe put him on the practice squad and then bring him up if the Jets are struggling. Maybe we can do that. So another name I wanted to throw out there in this one who had a great game was Keen Nwangu, running back. He had that last season. He had that one run back, 100 plus yards. I feel like this guy can really be coming for Xavier Gibson's kickoff return spot because he can run a lot more distance than Xavier Gibson could. I feel like Xavier Gibson was pretty shut down after that Bills return 2 years ago. I feel like he hasn't really done much on that end of things. And Keenan Wengu, I feel like is a lot better. What do you think?
I would definitely agree, Tyler. And you could tell literally right off the bat, literally on the opening kickoff, that return that set him up for the first team offense. So I would actually go and keep him on the 53 man roster, especially on special teams, because you're always going to need players to play special teams, even though they may not make the position. Because in this particular case for him, he's going um, he's going to be part of the running back. But for special teams, I would actually have him starting over Xavier Gibson. So I would totally agree with on that, Tyler.
So yeah, so I feel like if you put Keenan Wengu in for kickoff returns, and if the Jets' offensive passing game is not really there, I feel like it would be a pretty easy 3 points on the drive. And I also wanted to point out, I feel like the offensive line in the preseason game against the Giants, I feel like they did really good. 0 sacks allowed, and this really gave the running backs room, and no sacks in this game. I feel like Justin Fields, Adrian Martinez, and Brady Cook, they all had plenty of time to throw the ball. So, what were your thoughts on this offensive line? I feel like we need these guys to step up because last year it was a sack show. It was just like left and right. Just these are all young guys, and they need to step it up.
I agree, Tyler. And you already seen on the opening possession from the Jets' first team offense that Aaron Glenn is trying to establish that identity of running the football, especially with the tackles that we have with Fashanu and Membu, and then we have Joe Tittman, AVT, and John Simpson. If all of them can actually go and develop that chemistry and obviously stay healthy, they're going to be one. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now, Tyler. They're probably one of the top 10 offensive lines in the league. And you already could tell, especially when they ended up imposing their will, because you see Braylon Allen, 6'1", 235. He is a man possessed because don't be surprised at the end of the year that he ends up becoming the feature back. I know there's rumors on social media swirling with Brees Hall if he's going to get a contract extension because Williams and James Cook both got their extensions. So do not be surprised at all if the Jets are actually out of contention. They either trade him or if for some reason they end up being in contention for the playoffs and they don't make it, I can see Brees Hall basically playing out the entire year and let him walk. So the offensive line and the offense in general, and again, like I said in the very beginning, the preseason, the coaches don't game plan. And do you really think for 1 second that they're going to give away the RPO plays for Justin Fields. I don't see that happening. So, and the game plans are vanilla anyway. So it's one of those things where it's like I'm not too worried.
I really like this offensive line too, but social media people are saying that Josh Myers should be starting over Joe Tippmann. Do you like that move? Because I mean,
No,
I could
no.
see it because Myers did play with the at Ohio State with Justin Fields. They can get that connection again together. But I feel like Joe Tippmann, he doesn't really have too many bad snaps. I feel like last year, I feel like it was pretty somewhat good. Do you want Josh Myers starting again over Tippmann?
No, I actually no. I would actually keep Myers as the backup center because of the fact that I would want this offensive line of Fashanu, Simpson, Tittman, AVT, and remember, I want them to go and mesh. I want them to actually develop some chemistry to start out with. And if obviously one of them actually goes down, the only thing you basically have to do is shift Joe Tittman to the guard and plug in Myers. So he's a plug and play. So I would start with that offensive line to actually develop that chemistry first. And like I said, if something happens and Josh Myers could be a plug and play, and then like I said, you can move over Tittman to the guard. So I would keep the offensive line the way it is right now.
Agreed. I feel like last season they had Tyron Smith, who's so old. I'm not pointing that out, but he is. I feel
Yes.
like that was the reason why. I feel like just the old offensive linemen. I don't think that's the way to go. I feel like having the young offensive linemen that can move around. I feel like is a lot better with this run type offense the Jets have. So what are your thoughts on? We already pointed it out about the offensive line, but do you like the young guys starting like for the offensive line?
Yeah. Yes, I would, and like I said, I would. Yes, I would actually just throw them to the wolves and let them learn, because, like I said, in the offensive line, you got three. You got three first round picks. You got Membu, you got Fashanu, and you got ABT, and then Joe Tim is the second round pick, and then you got John Simpson that we picked up in free agency a couple of years ago. At least you got that veteran there, and then Fashanu finally came to his own at the end of the season. And I understand we've seen reports during the joint practices that Membu was having a hard time with um, um Kayvon with Tibu and Brian Burns. But I said when I posted on my X account, I'm not worried. I would actually gonna keep the young guys in there, let them figure it out, and the coaching is going to be so much better than what it was last year. Look, I understand we're not going to be able to win um, a whole lot of games, even though Vegas says we have a five, we're 5.5 wins. I think we're going to win at least 7 games with just the coaching in general, because Aaron Glenn is going to make sure that the 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 team's going to be well coached and well prepared, unlike Robert Sala. So I would actually going to keep those, like I said, I would keep those guys in there and depend on the offensive line coach, and the scheme. Give it time, and I think again, I think they could probably be one of the top 10 offensive lines in the league if you give them time.
I agree with you there. I really like Aaron Glenn as the head coach because I feel like he really takes accountability, and I feel like in previous seasons, the Jets head coaches did not do a lot of that. I feel like Aaron Glenn, the halftime press conference that he had, I feel like he really just is like telling the press people that what he wants to fix, and I feel like the last seasons and seasons before that, I feel like head coaches did not do that too well with that. And so, did you see the Brees Hall trade block rumors that he might get traded? So,
Yes.
do you want him to get traded, or do you want him on the Jets?
Honestly, I would much rather keep him to see where we're going to be at the trade deadline. Give it the trade deadline, and if if the Jets are actually out of playoff contention by the trade deadline, I would actually go and trade him, knowing the fact that he may not even get the contract that he wants, because Williams from the Rams and James Cook from the Buffalo Bills, they got their money. So I would actually go and keep Brees Hall till give him at least midway through the season, see what happens. So I would like to go and keep Brees Hall, but obviously we got Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. But I would just keep, just in case something happens, because you know injuries are going to happen, Tyler. So that's my thing. But that's the only, because I'm the glass half full kind of guy. But you know, obviously injuries can happen in football. So what happens? Hey, if Braylon Allen ends up getting hurt. Isaiah Davis get hurt. We're basically just stuck at running back. So I would keep the running backs the way they are right now until the trade deadline.
I kind of want to trade Brees Hall because I feel like we need another wide receiver behind Garrett Wilson. I feel like Terry McLaurin's still out there. He's wide open. We can get him right there. And Braylon Allen's a very physical guy. I feel like he can really help us. And Isaiah Davis showing flashes in his 2 seasons ago and things before that. But another thing I wanted to talk about with the Jets, they don't have another defensive lineman behind Quinn Williams. Who do you want to be behind Quinn Williams?
I would actually get Landon Taylor the third because he had a little bit of buzz, the undrafted free agent out of the U last year. I would like to see um, Leonard Taylor behind Quentin Williams. If you actually give him time, I think he could be the backup defensive lineman. And you already see it with Tefele. He was a man possessed in that last game against the Green Bay Packers. Man, that man was all over the place. Holy crap! He was doing his thing, and then like I said, Leonard Taylor, and then um there's a, there's another defensive lineman. Well, I'm hoping that Jermaine Johnson actually get back and Will McDonald. But the main thing is I want to see Leonard Taylor the third. That's my backup defensive line. Because you know what's a fella, I think he's gonna actually start. If they do a 4-3 to start out with, I think it's gonna be the defensive tackles are gonna be Tefele and Quinn Wins is defensive tackle, and then you have um, Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. I think that's going to be a starting defensive line. So if Leonard Taylor can actually get in there Tefele, I would much rather have Tefele as the backup defensive lineman to Quentin Williams.
I really liked Tuflai too because Green Bay game really just showed it. He had that one fumble recovery in the end zone for a touchdown. And then he also had a couple. I feel like he can really get in there quickly for sacks. But I feel like another good name that would be thrown out there is Derek Nagandi. I think I'm saying his name right. Eighth season in the NFL, he's entering it. 6'1", 317 pounds. I feel like you needed another vet behind him. And I feel like the more physical they are, I feel like the better. And yeah, so I feel like Nagandi might be a good fit, but I would like to play too. Um, so another thing I wanted to mention was Quantez Stiggers. He in the Giants game, he had that one interception that I don't know what Russell Wilson was thinking on that, but Quantez Stiggers, I feel like he's gonna really have a good season because Sauce Gardner is on injury for a little bit. I feel like he's gonna be back before week 1, but who knows? I feel like just Stiggers. I think he's gonna have a good season. And what are your thoughts on the cornerback room? I feel like we don't have DJ Reed anymore. I feel like we have a brand new type cornerback room. How do you like it?
Um, you getting back to your point about Quantez Sigers, that interception, he basically redeemed himself, especially with that open possession that he gave up. I don't know the miscommunication with him and Andre Cisco when Russell Wilson threw that bomb. I don't know what was the miscommunication, but I'm thankful over the fact that Stiggers was able to actually redeem himself with that interception. But as far as the cornerback room goes, I really believe that that Brandon Stevens is going to be the starting corner behind Sauce Gardner. But I really think that Quantez Stiggers and then him playing special team that helps as well too. But him specifically as a cornerback, I think he could basically challenge the starting position with Brandon Stevens. So I think the cornerback room is good at the moment right now. But obviously injuries could actually gonna help him. But we obviously with Sauce Gardner being hurt with his calf, you don't want it to be too serious, and I'm glad they ended up keeping him out of this game last night against the Giants. And Quantez Stiggers was able to actually get more playing time as opposed to Brandon Stevens. But I think the cornerback room is going to be really good. And obviously, Aaron Glenn being the head coach, he played corner at a high level. Obviously, the first 8 years with the New York Jets, and he was a 3-time All-Pro. So I believe that the coaching is going to make a major difference. And don't be surprised if Sauce Gardner, he's probably. I'm making a bold prediction over the fact that he's going to have an All-Pro season again. Don't be surprised. He'll probably be one of the nominees for Defensive Player of the Year as well too, because you already saw in that. Green Bay Packers game, what he did, he had deflection, he had tackle, he was aggressive with the ball. So I really believe the cornerback room is going to be really good. And then you got Isaiah Thomas, the rookie that we drafted out of Florida State, with his long arms, because he's 6'1", so he has long arms as well too. Give him time to develop as well too. I think the cornerback room is going to be really good.
I agree. I feel like this cornerback room needs to be good because we still have Stephon Diggs in the AFC East. He's on the Patriots now. So now we covered offense and defense. So now for special teams, they brought back Nick Folk, who is much needed because last season they missed a lot of kicks. I feel like for the Jets and Austin McNamara,
McNamara.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought him in. I don't really understand why they got rid of Morstead. I feel like the veterans. I thought he had a really good season last year. I feel like that was what kept the Jets in games. But McNamara against the Giants really was what kept the game competitive because they had 6 punts, 3 inside the 20, and the punting and the special teams needs to be really good this year because like if the Jets go 3 and out or whatever, or, I don't know, but they need to be really good to get 3 points every possession. Just they need to keep kicking and making their field goals and stuff.
Yes, I agree, and I'm thankful over the fact that we got Nick Folk back because Nick Folk was always a jet in my mind, and ever since Nick Folk ended up leaving, as you can see over the years, we have struggled big time with kickers, and you specifically mentioned last year. We've lost a couple of games specifically just because of special teams. Greg Zerline didn't make his field goals the way he should. There was miscues on special teams, and I think we probably would have had maybe like 2 or 3 more wins because of special teams. But I'm thankful over the fact that I think that McNamara is going to go and get the job as far as the punting goes, and I think that Nick Folk is going to be our starting kicker. So, like you said, Tyler, the special teams is going to be there because obviously, you know how this goes. Usually, when the season starts, the defense starts up, and then the offense has to catch up with the defense. So, we're going to need the defense and the special teams to help us out in the beginning of the season. And then once the offense starts gelling, hopefully real quick, real fast with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields and the offense are gonna figure it out. But like you said, we're gonna need special teams as the worst way we can, especially when we're actually going the first 4 games of the season because the first 2 at home with the Steelers and the Bills, and then we got the next 2 games against the Buccaneers and the Miami Dolphins. So if we want to go start fast, I think special teams is probably going to be the X factor the first quarter of the season.
Folk was our hero in 2010. Let's hope we run it back again into that like what we did in 2010 AFC Championship. I feel like we should really be looking for the playoffs right now with all the offseason moves that we had. So I want to thank you, Malcolm, for coming on the show. I really appreciate this. Do you have any final thoughts? Close this out.
Well, the one thing I will say, and I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in the final preseason game because obviously the Stars are not going to play. So this game, this upcoming Friday at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, it's all going to be about the back end of the roster. Let's see. And the person that I'm actually going to be looking at is Malachi Corley because honestly, I don't even know if he's going to make the team. So I'm going to be looking at him specifically to see what he can do against the Philadelphia Eagles. So him, and then there's a couple other players that I don't know that I'm trying to figure out that who is probably going to be on the bubble. I think Jeremy Rucker may end up being on the bubble as well too, but I'm looking at both of them specifically in the final preseason game in turn. So obviously the Stars are not going to play Friday, but this is all about the tail end of the roster. So looking forward to Friday night's game against the Philadelphia Eagles and see who is going to go stand out on both offense and defense before cut down day.
Yes, Malachi Corey is definitely on the trade bubble. Or not trade bubble. He's definitely not. I don't know if he's going to make the team because he had that one mistake against the Texans, dropping the ball before the end zone. That was brutal. And I feel like Rucker is going to be the starting tight end because Mason Taylor can catch the ball, but his blocking is not there. And Jeremy Rucker has shown flashes of his catching, and he also has great blocking ability. So I feel like Jeremy Rucker will get the number 1 tight end spot. So thank you, Malcolm, as I said before, and thank you guys all for listening out there. and have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.